everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Strike Noise, your weekly baseball history podcast. My name is Jeff. I am one half of the show. Joining me from up north, not the Great North, but just south of the Great North, it is Mark A. Johnston. Mark,
you make me want to come out with the Bob and Doug theme.
Or red green, or
yeah. If the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. There you go.
Or Strange Brew. Strange Brew is my favorite Canadian comedy of all time.
It's one of my favorite comedies ever. One of my favorite movies.
That is just so funny still.
Pure genius.
Yeah. Well, let's talk some baseball. It's spring. It's first fake spring here in the Bay Area. I don't know about Seattle right now.
It's pretty cold.
Yeah.
We just had a big old windstorm.
Oh, I'm in shorts with a fan on me. So I know this is, again, it's first fake spring. We have two fake springs, and then somewhere in June, middle of June-ish, it'll start getting really warm. But I'm prepared for baseball. Nonetheless, let's get right into it. I have got so many things I want to touch on this week, some of which have to do with what's happened since last we spoke, with spring training games underway and things like that. And then just this story for this week. I told you before we started, it started being about one person, and then they're intertwined with this other person that I wanted to talk about. So I just smooshed them all together into one smorgasbord episode. So unless you've got anything else, let's just jump right into some BP.
No, I'm good. Let's do it.
All right. So this dropped like last Friday. We're recording. Well, it doesn't matter when we're recording this week. We're actually recording pretty early. But this whole Yankees facial hair policy thing that happened last week, I talked about it on stream on Friday, which I felt like somebody was missing that was going to stream with me on Friday. But regardless.
Oh, man. I don't know who that could have been. I was busy sleeping, so yes. I don't know.
Well, regardless, you and I have not got to talk about it. I think for the most part, everybody can agree that this was long overdue. It's draconian to be gatekeeping people's appearances at this point, especially when they're really the only team that does it anymore.
Right. And
I've seen nothing but positive responses from current and former players, except for one, Johnny Damon.
Really?
Who is, when they called him an idiot, it wasn't just a clever nickname. Known drunkard and just real idiot. Former Yankee Johnny Damon. He had this to say. He said, quote, "I think we need to keep it how it was. With respect to Yogi Berra, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Jorge Posada, who should be a Hall of Famer in my book, and the Yankees, it's just a tradition. Let's keep it. I cut these lovely locks off many years ago because George Steinbrenner was such a great human being, a great boss, that I wasn't even going to question it," end quote. Sorry, I knew I was not going to get through saying George Steinbrenner was such a great human being. But do you think if Mickey Mantle had the chance to wear a beard, or Jeter or Mo, we can't say Mo anymore, we'll just say Posada, they would have jumped at the chance, right? Who really cares?
I think that there was a while where facial hair was just like, nah. But as of the last
20 years,
since I started growing mine, I believe I was a trendsetter.
In the 80s, so of course you had the Yankees and the Reds famously had these things. The Reds even you had to wear real stirrups. You had to show this much sanitary sock, which that I'm all for policing.
That's fair.
But that was the 80s. Coming off the 70s, where everybody looked like Charlie Blackmon and Johnny Damon, where they were all, there was shift in that. And now we've shifted back to facial hair being completely acceptable. And I think that this was long overdue. But Johnny Damon's just, he truly is an idiot.
How do you really feel about him, though?
Well, I could go more, but we try to stay away from certain topics here. But just don't let him get behind the wheel. He and Tony La Russa, just take their keys away if they're going to have alcohol. We did talk about ABS last week and it being tested in spring training. I'm assuming you've watched some games. I've only seen it live once. I've seen plenty of highlights, but I've only, in the games I've watched, only seen it happen once.
I saw it when I went to some minor league games.
This year with the big leaguers, yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen it twice so far.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, this is going to be, I predict next year this will be in the big leagues.
Yeah.
But it happened. Well, first of all, it happened what we talked about. There were 2 calls in the last couple of days where like just 1 pixel of the ball is in that strike zone.
Seen that. Yes.
And it's a strike. They challenge it. It's a strike or whatever. But this happened earlier in the week. There was a call challenge down in Arizona. Mike, I don't know how you say that. He is a big league umpire. He's been around for a little while. Had a call challenged. He called it a ball. It was challenged. They went to it. This is very quick stuff. But here is the broadcast of what went down. Because the umpires are getting over the loudspeaker and the PA system and saying whether it was a ball or strike, just like they do when they've had a play challenged during the regular season. But this is how it went down with Mike.
Good breaking ball, just misses. Brett Sullivan get a challenge. Brett has been expert at the ABS system. Ooh.
The call is surprisingly correct. 3.
Surprisingly correct. Now, first of all, this pitch that was challenged was not a good one to challenge. It was an inch off the plate. That's what the replay said. So it was clearly a ball. But are we giving them this much leeway to be snarky? And if so, does the batter or the catcher get that opportunity as well if they get the call overturned?
Maybe it's just a spring thing.
So I went to umpirescorecards.com and looked up our buddy Mike Muchlinski. It's Muchlinski. That's how I'm going to go. He's not very good to be that snarky. He is in the 40th percentile among umpires with accuracy.
Ooh.
His average accuracy last year was 93.7. So 6% of the time you're incorrect. So that's about 12 to 15 calls a game you're missing, bro.
Yikes.
Again, this was a dumb one to challenge. It wasn't great. But glass houses, throwing stones. He had one game last year, Miami against the Mets, where he finished with an 88.9% accuracy.
Wow.
So
you or I could possibly pull that off.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but let's cut down on the snark unless you're in the 100 percentile, which only one ump has been recently, and he just got a lifetime ban. So it's interesting. I think this could lead to some arguments about just people being snarky like this. As you will see with our main story this week, a little bit later here, there are times when we just throw the rules out during a baseball game. Anything goes. Spring training can be one of those instances where that happens. Take Will Ferrell, right? Playing in a game for every team, just playing in a game in spring training. But take, for instance, the bat boy that the Jays had at a game last week. That bat boy was none other than Chris Bassett, starting pitcher.
I saw that. Yes.
Now,
that was awesome.
This is Chris Bassett, not Fred Bassett.
Right. The cartoon.
I was going to say, any Fred Bassett heads out there? Cartoon Beagle.
Boy, I have not even heard of that in I don't know how long. That's classic.
It came to me when I was writing his name. I don't know why. Because when he was on the A's, I just think of a Basset hound. I just see a dog. But for some reason, that cartoon came to me. A comic strip came to me. But Chris Bassett lost. He came in last, had the worst record in the Blue Jays Fantasy Football League with a 4-10 mark. As his punishment, he was the bat boy for a game. They gave him a special custom jersey with his number was 4-10, his record.
That's awesome.
This is apparently an ongoing tradition. They did it last year as well. I really hope someone mic'd him up for this. That's just ready-made content to mic him up for that. And because he had no idea what he was doing. He's looking for direction. I hope somebody put a mic on him. let's see. How about this, Mark? Highest war by initials.
Wow. We really get into it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
So give me 3 pairs of initials. Doesn't matter what they are.
JR.
Okay.
MJ. And let's go with TM.
TM. All right. Let's take a look at this graph. I will put this in the show notes. It's a graph that somebody put together for highest baseball reference war by initials. So your first one was JR?
Yes.
So let's see. Do you have any idea who the highest baseball reference war for their career with the initials JR might be?
Not a clue. I just threw it out there, man.
Well, it's Jackie Robinson.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, some of these, there are some really great names on this list. Let's see. You said MJ for Michael Jordan, I assume.
Yeah. Or Mark A. Johnston.
Oh, okay. Well, the highest baseball reference for MJ is Mac Jones.
Wow. The singer?
Let's see. Mac Jones. I don't know Mac Jones. Oh, his nickname was Mac the Knife. I think we've talked about him before.
Oh,
That's a great
wow.
nickname. But let's see here. He played from 1961 through 1971 for the Milwaukee Braves, for Montreal and Cincinnati. Ended up with a career WAR of 20.6.
Oh, wow.
So he has got the highest MJ BWAR. And then your final one was TM.
Yes.
Let's see here. TM. Tony Mullane.
Okay.
Didn't he write Mike Hammer?
Yes. That was Tony Mullane. Absolutely.
Let's see. Tony Mullane. Wow. The Count, or the Apollo of the Box. We have talked about him before. He is from
Count.
Cork, Ireland.
That's right.
Yeah, he's died. He died in 1944, but I love to say Cork. He was a pitcher, outfielder, third baseman. He played for 13 years. Cincinnati, Brooklyn, Toledo, Louisville. They were the Eclipse at that point. But Pete Browning and Guy Hecker were on that team, as was Chicken Wolf.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is probably how we've talked about him before. But he's got a 60.1 WAR.
Very nice.
Yeah, he's got some black ink in here as a pitcher in the 1800s. A couple of quick ones for you. How about NR?
NR.
Yeah, who do you think has the highest?
Yeah, nothing except Nick Reese.
Now, I'm not going to edit this out.
I don't know.
You, Mark A. Johnston, can't think of a baseball player whose initials are NR that
Sorry,
might...
it wasn't coming to me. Ricky Henderson? Oh, wait, no. Nolan Ryan. Maybe Nolan Ryan?
There you go. But looking along the R column here, you've got Ivan Rodriguez, you got Jackie Robinson, you got Manny Ramirez, Nolan Ryan, Old Hoss Radburn, Pete Rose, Robin Roberts, Scott Rowland, Tim Raines. This is just a rogues gallery of Hall of Famers. Cal Ripken Jr., Babe Ruth, Alex Rodriguez, Frank Robinson. That might be the strongest row.
The R's go on.
Yeah. What about RH? Who do you think is the biggest RH?
Nolan Ryan again? How about Ricky?
It is not.
No?
No. So Ricky, obviously top shelf Hall of Famer. This guy might even be a little bit above him. Rogers Hornsby.
Oh, sure.
This is a really fun chart to look at. The names on here are just great. There's some really great names. Ken Forsch, actually the highest KF.
Okay.
Which is Mark Ellis is the highest ME. So I mean, beyond these great names, there's also some guys like, really?
Yeah, no doubt.
Pedro Estacio. You can't name me a better PA.
What about Pete Alonso?
Nope. Not higher than Pedro Estacio, apparently.
Okay, all right.
Let's see. So Pedro Estasio's got a 28.3 lifetime WAR.
Okay, yeah.
Pete Alonso, with only 6 years, has a 19.8. So well on his way. But
yes,
he's still away.
Not there yet.
All right. Again, I'll put that link in the show notes just so everybody can go have fun with that if you want to. Mark, this show is debuting on February 28th. Just a note that today in 2009, Tom Sturdivant passed away. We had his grandson on a long time ago, and he had some great stories about his grandfather that had been passed along to him, that he passed along to us. One-time roommate of Mickey Mantle, which tells you that there's going to be a lot of stories just right with that. Yeah. Also, a birthday today, Mark. 1899, Lil Stoner was born.
Oh, good old Lil Stoner. We've discussed Lil a few times.
Yeah, on the 420 show last year, we definitely talked about Lil Stoner. And then finally today in 1986, Commissioner Peter Ueberroth gave 7 players who were admitted drug users a choice. They could either be suspended without pay for a year, or they could have heavy fines and career-long drug testing, along with 100 hours of drug-related community service. Players included in that bunch: Joaquin Andujar, old penitentiary face Jeffrey Leonard, Enos Cabell, Keith Hernandez, Dave Parker, now Hall of Famer Dave Parker, Dale Berra, and Lonnie Smith, who chose the 10% fine of their annual salaries, while 14 other players received lesser penalties for their involvement in the Pittsburgh drug trials. But
yes,
I said it, Dave Parker is a Hall of Famer this year, so I think Keith Hernandez, this is his shot with the ERA committee this year.
Makes sense to me.
Although we didn't vote him in when we did our...
We did not.
I did, but you did not.
That's right. He got a 50%.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for our BP segment. Mark, let's have the grounds crew come out. They're working quickly, mid-season form. And today I've titled this episode, Baseball Best Friends Forever. Ever. BBBFF. Nice. I'm talking about Germany Schaefer and Charlie O'Leary.
Okay.
So I have only heard of these two guys because I wrote their names down a couple of months ago to look at for future stories. And now here they both are. They're baseball best friends forever. Let's talk about this. 1876, William Herman Schaefer is born in Chicago. He was called Germany because his parents were Australian. Wait, no.
Austrian.
No, that's a typo. They were German. Let's see. After a journey through the minor leagues, Germany played for 15 seasons, ending up with a .257 batting average, 9 home runs, and 201 stolen bases while playing for the Cubs, Tigers, Senators, Yankees, Cleveland, and the New York Pepper of the Federal League. If that was around today, it would be the Newark Preppers instead of Pepper, I think.
Yes, there you go.
Do you think they were called, is there a lot of pepper, like ground in Newark, or was this pepper like the baseball game you play pepper when you warm up?
I think that's a big pepper factory there.
Is there? Right.
No, I'm making that up.
Okay. Well, you had me convinced. All right. So he was a serviceable infielder, shall we say. One reporter said this of him.
He is one of the few ball players whose value to a team is not shown by statistics.
Apparently he was English, this reporter.
Yes.
I just felt like making it English. I don't know. You should realize now that this is a hard statement to make since there are stats for everything now. Outfielder breaks on the ball, pop time, etc. There's a stat literally to measure every part of the game. They might not be super accurate, but this is something you can't really say now that, his value to the team is not shown in statistics. Well, back then, I guess you could get away with that. But for these career numbers, though, to be differentiating himself by things he did without a glove or a ball is really the only way we would remember him now. I believe we've mentioned some of his antics before, but I want to go through them. I want to go through all of them. I want to celebrate his entire catalog rather than just cherry pick.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So Schaefer would wear raincoats and boots during rainy games, trying to get the umpire to call the game. Once even walking to the plate with galoshes and a raincoat on, which promptly got him tossed.
Nice.
He was once ejected for wearing a fake mustache to the plate. At what point does that get you ejected?
I don't know. What was he making fun of the umpire's bad mustache? I don't get
literally, that was the only thing I could think of. But I think that this was the precedent that Bobby Valentine got caught under in the dugout with the Mets. MLB versus Germany, I think was what was cited. Schaefer reportedly knocked a ball out of Philadelphia's Columbia Park. And when he did that, he carried his bat around the bases with him, pretending like it was a rifle, and shot at pitcher Rube Waddell, The whole way around, he carried his bat with him and shot at him, who he'd hit the ball off. This was after Rube broke the arm of teammate and lifelong best friend Charlie O'Leary. So put a pin in Charlie, because we're going to come back to him in a minute. So, Mark, would you, as a professional baseball player, ever play a practical joke on an umpire?
Boy, no, I would not.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I certainly wouldn't do it against Mike Muchlinski, because he apparently has no time for jokes. But it didn't stop Germany. Umpire Jack Sheridan was at a watering hole after a game in Chicago getting plastered. And I feel confident in saying that because he passed out at one point. He was 4 sheets to the wind. That's how to the wind he was, 4 sheets. While Sheridan was in and out of consciousness at the table, Germany whispered into a drain pipe that just happened to run by Sheridan's head, "Jack Sheridan, your time has come." So he does this a couple of times, and Sheridan eventually wakes up and he hears this voice and he doesn't know where it's coming from, and he runs screaming from the bar.
If your time has come, I don't think you want to run screaming anywhere. I think maybe you stay put. I'm just saying.
If your time's come, though, no matter what you do. But I see this in my head as a wall with a person-sized hole running through it, but I'm guessing that's probably
like a Scooby-Doo
type
thing,
Or like those swinging doors in the Old West where he just
there you go.
Cloud of dust and they're just waving as he's gone. But the next time Sheraton was behind the plate for a game that Germany played in, walking up to the plate, Germany muttered under his breath, "Jack Sheridan, your time has come." So Sheridan immediately whips his head around, big eyes, scared him just enough to toss Germany from the game as he was muttering that up at the plate.
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah, that's a good joke. And that's a bad sense of humor. That's a kind of a Mike Mulchinsky type of sense of humor to toss him for that.
Yeah.
Mike's on our list, by the way, if you haven't noticed. He's not liked. Let's see. Once, to protest a umpire's decision to keep a game going in fading light, I know we've talked about this one, he took out to his position in the field a lantern, which now that I can see you deserve to get tossed for doing that. But he would also tiptoe along the foul line like a tightrope walker. It's a classic one right there. He invented, I guess you would say he invented, the old row across the outfield grass using bats as oars prank.
Oh, sure.
Not prank, but just visual gag. I'm also willing to bet that a lot of these antics he is given credit for were probably first seen in the Negro Leagues and by barnstorming teams. He did
probably
play.
True.
Yeah, he did play against black players in the offseason, and he also played in Cuba. He wasn't like a Cap Anson type guy. Like, he didn't care. So good on him. So Germany is doing all this stuff, and I guess, like I said earlier during BP, baseball is just, okay, whatever. Have fun storming the castle. Do your stuff.
Yes.
So September 13th, 1902, he is the third baseman. And this is just a footnote here, but he was the third baseman for the game that the highly overrated defensive counting stats favorite Tinkers to Evers to Chance double play combo first appeared together on a baseball diamond.
Wow.
So he was stationed at third when the first time that they were out there. Though Schaefer was referred to as Germany, he was American, damn it. So when the U.S. declared war on Germany in 1917, he changed his nickname to Liberty. So he was Liberty Schaefer for a while.
Okay.
So two things that stand out, stories that I haven't touched on yet regarding Germany. First of all, during a game in 1906, Schaefer was called on to pinch hit with 2 outs in the 9th inning, a runner on base, and his Tigers down by a run. So it's a 1-0 game. He comes up. He's coaching third by the way, in this game. He's coaching third, and he is sent up to pinch hit in this clutch situation. He steps to the plate against Doc White, and as he is grabbing his bat and walking up the home plate, he makes an announcement to the fans in attendance.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now looking at Herman Schaefer, better known as Herman the Great. Acknowledged by one in all to be the greatest pinch hitter in the world. I'm now going to hit the ball into the left field bleachers. Thank you.
I told you his parents were from Australia.
Yo.
So he calls a shot, essentially. He doesn't point, but he tells everybody he's going to hit a home run to left field. And unlike Babe Ruth, he called his shot and he delivered. So he hits a home run. He's rounding the bases, but as he's doing so, he slides feet first into all 4 bases.
Okay.
Which Ricky did that when he broke the all-time run scored record. He hit a home run and slid into home base, but he didn't slide into every base.
Right.
It's a little bit more. But can you even imagine that? Like now? Or even Bob Gibson seeing that? Madison Bumgarner? Oh, boy. Some teammates, such as Ty Cobb, were quoted as saying that Germany would often announce his at-bats this way, just in case he hit one and it finally happened. So you can't fault him for that. He did it.
True.
So that's not even the best story about Germany. He did something that they actually had to make a rule against because it was so... I guess zany is the best word. I don't use zany freely. You got to earn zany. Starts with the Z.
Yeah, it's an underused word.
Yeah, you've got to earn it. So it's 1911. It's a tie ball game, bottom of the 9th inning, and Schaefer's on first base. Winning run is on third. So they do the old runner on first is going to try to steal second to draw a throw so that the runner on third, whose name was Clyde Milan, could steal or at least try to steal home. So there goes Germany off first. He's trying to steal second, but White Sox catcher Fred Payne, he's been around. He's seen all the. There's nothing he's going to not have already seen on the baseball diamond. He's not going to throw. He held the ball. Why throw it anyway? That run doesn't mean anything, right? It's a tie ball game. All you're going to do, you're either going to throw it away and allow the runner to walk home, or you're going to throw it and they're going to try to steal home.
Right.
It's Mark, it's almost as if some of these stories are not 100% accurate after all this time. Although I will say this game was written up in both the Washington Post and the Chicago and the Chicago Tribune. So there are legitimate newspaper articles about this incident. Schaefer strolls into second. There was no throw. Runner on third has to stay there, but he still wants to give that runner a chance to steal home. Instead of taking his lead off of second base, he did the most Bugs Bunny baseball universe thing ever. He took a lead back towards first on the other side of the bank. So the next pitch is thrown and he takes off back towards first. Mass pandemonium breaks out on the field. Cats, dogs, living together. White Sox manager Hugh Duffy running out onto the field to argue with the umpire. While all this is going on, time has somehow not been called because over at third, Milan is still chilling over there and he sees all this stuff going on. People shouting, pointing, extra people on the field. So he takes off for home. The Red Sox see this, throw home, tag out the runner, inning over.
Wow.
Didn't work. That's crazy. That's zany.
Wasn't quite zany enough.
No.
But it was pretty darn zany.
Yeah. Well, this is not the first time he'd done that in a game. Just like he would announce he's going to hit a home run every at-bat, he would do this several times a year, even pulling it off successfully 3 years earlier when he got in a rundown trying to run back to first, and the runner scored from home. The umpire in that game insisted afterwards that Schaefer had, quote, a perfect right to go from second back to first, end quote. So 9 years later in 1920, baseball actually enacted a rule to address this. It is Rule 5.09B, subsection 10, that states that a player is out if, quote, after he acquired legal possession of a base, he runs the bases in reverse order for the purpose of confusing the defense or making a travesty of the game, the umpire shall immediately call time and declare him out, end quote. So this is actually a year after Germany passed away, they made this rule, but he had long retired when they made this rule.
Yeah.
They were thinking about it.
It's interesting that they had to come up with a rule.
Yeah.
To even approach that subject.
I'm wondering, did anybody else do this? He did it several times. Did anybody else try this? I'm wondering.
Yeah. Who knows?
Now, if you see it, though, you could be like, that's 509B, Section 10.
Subsection 10, yeah, definitely.
So here's an article I also found. This is from the 1912 Macon Telegraph. Germany was asked, well, no, I'm not even going to read it. I've got a special guest here to read it because this is apparently how people talked in 1912.
The other day, actuated by the 20 greatest craze that has swept the country, a scribe asked Schaefer to name the 20 greatest players in history.
I ask an English person. We're going multinational today. I don't know. I just have
very
fun
nice,
with
yes.
AI voices. But apparently there was this 20 greatest list craze that swept the country in 1912. And a reporter asked Germany, who are the 20 greatest hitters in baseball, in the history of baseball. Germany said, I'll write down a list and give it to you. So he came back a little bit later, handed the list over. He had written his own name down 20 times.
I like it.
That's Ricky Henderson or Reggie Jackson stuff right there, right?
Absolutely.
I just love this 20 greatest list was a craze sweeping the nation. So it's 1912. It's like the version of sharing your Spotify Wrapped list. But it would take 6 months to go from one side of the country to the other. It's not.
Right. It wasn't like Letterman top 10s every night.
No, it was a slow moving craze. It was a different time. All right. So, Mark, I mentioned Charlie O'Leary earlier. What did I tell you to do with him, Mark?
You said to put a pin in him, and you were going to talk about him
Exactly. Put a pin in him. So
later. I was listening.
It's his first time for everything. But let's now talk about him. He and German, as I mentioned, they were BBBFFs. Baseball best friends forever. They both were born and grew up in Chicago. Charles Timothy O'Leary, born in October of 1875, one of 15 siblings. They had their own team, especially in
I guess so.
1875. Some of those guys were never seeing playing time because you only really needed like 9 or 10 at that point. But at the age of 16, he started to play on a semi-pro baseball team. Then in 1900, while working as a messenger, a bike messenger, I couldn't find if he was making a delivery or he just happened to be at this game, but he went to a White Sox game and their shortstop was injured in the middle of the game. And they recruited him knowing that he played semi-pro ball right out of the stands. He's just there, like probably I can just see him waiting for a signature on the package he's trying to deliver. And all of a sudden they're pulling him down and putting a uniform on him. He played 27 games before, again, having his arm broken by a wild pitch by Rube Waddell.
Yes.
Fire engine and puppy enthusiast, Rube Waddell. Now, I'm not sure why nobody knows for sure that this actually happened, but everything I read said allegedly this happens, but we just don't know. He had a broken arm, apparently. It could be from Rube Waddell. He could have fallen down the stairs. We don't know, but I like the Rube Waddell story. So let's just go with that.
There you go.
Remember when Germany went deep against Rube Waddell, he shot his bat the entire way around. That was in retaliation for hitting his BBBFF, whether it was on purpose or not.
Sure.
So Charlie played for 11 seasons in the big leagues. He, likewise, a serviceable infielder with a career batting average of .226. Those 11 seasons, though, they were not consecutive. There's a bit of a gap between his 10th and 11th season. He was 37 years old when he took his final at-bat of the 1913 season. His next official at-bat was 21 years later in 1934.
Wow, that is a big gap.
That's a gap, all right. He was called in to pinch hit in the final game of the season for the St. Louis Browns. As again, baseball seems to have just threw their hands up in the air and said, we don't care, do what you want. So
yes, there you go.
Up comes a man who, by the way, they think at this point is 52 years old. But later, we find out he has lied about his age his entire life. He's actually 58 years old at this point. So essentially, Julio Franco is going up to the plate here as a pinch hitter. And both teams are in on this. This game is the second game of a doubleheader. All the playoffs, the American and National League have their champions to meet in the World Series. This game doesn't mean anything. So both teams actually had signed an older player to get them in the game. Is just let's have some fun. But he goes up there and he gets a hit at 58 years old. Now,
very nice.
That's a hit in air quotes. The local paper described the play that he got this hit as, quote, the flawless Gehringer, and this is me speaking now, that being Hall of Famer and well-known defensive star, the mechanical man, Charlie Gehringer. So
yes.
A good defensive player. They said the flawless Gehringer turned handsprings to keep from fielding the ball. So tip of the cap to the old guy, let him get a hit. He then, though, came around to score from second on a double. I'm assuming that was not a quick trip from second to home there. But that made him the oldest player to not only get a hit, but also to score a run in Major League Baseball, which still stands today. Again,
very nice.
This is the oldest to get a hit and score a run, not just to appear in a game. That is still Satchel Paige, who was 59. Or at least, again, we think, because like Charlie O'Leary, who has any idea when Satchel Paige was actually born? Nobody.
Yeah, no.
So to put this kind of gap into perspective, that would be like if Barry Bonds came to the plate during a regular season game this year.
Nice.
Some other names here that would have that kind of gap. Rafael Palmeiro, Barry Larkin, Will Clark. These are all Wax Packs guys. Jose Canseco, Ozzie Guillen, and Joe Girardi. That is similar to this gap. I mentioned that Germany and Charlie, lifelong buddies from Chicago, they both have the same sense of humor, and they think to themselves, hey, it's the off season. We got to get jobs because it's the early 1900s and we're ball players. We don't make much money. So the two put together a vaudeville act during the off season. Now,
wow,
I couldn't find any actual transcripts of this act, but I did see a single joke that was printed that was said to have been used. And I really hope for Germany's sake he didn't actually say this out loud. It's not offensive or crude. It's just stupid and bad.
Right on.
So this is Germany's joke.
Why does Tyrus cob Tyrus?
Now, if you couldn't understand the English accent there, the joke is, why does Tyrus cob Tyrus?
Okay.
I'm not going to explain it because great comedy should never have to be explained.
Should not. No.
Now, there is a story of them actually being pulled off stage with a long hook from off stage.
Wow. I hope those things were real.
I
really
hope
do.
so too. It didn't go over well. Germany, though, actually branched off with some other acts and ended up being pretty successful on the vaudeville circuit during the off seasons. It has been speculated that their act may have also been the inspiration for an MGM musical called They Learned About Women, which was then remade into Take Me Out to the Ballpark, which starred Gene Kelly and Frank Sinatra, and obviously is a very famous movie and baseball movie.
Yes.
So I wanted to save this last anecdote here. I wanted to save it for last because it really resonates with a lot of issues that are actually happening today. In October 1914, Schaefer shows up in court. Not because he had anything he was accused of. He didn't need to be there. But he wanted to show up to defend people that had been accused of being drunk in public and were scheduled to appear before a judge that day. I just imagine the drunk tank was probably full a lot of the time in the early part of the 1900s. That's just my consensus. It might not be true. But Schaefer rightly pointed out to the judge, he said, quote, "Your Honor, these poor souls should not be sentenced to 30 days in jail for an offense that a millionaire would simply be sent home in a cab for," end quote. Which,
nice.
I mean, that should be used in court today. The judge said, you know what, you're right. He acquitted the defendants, and then Schaefer took each of them out for a hot meal. So a compassionate person with a great sense of humor. Unfortunately, Germany died young in 1919. He had a hemorrhage while he was traveling in New York. He was 42 years old, and he had been battling pulmonary tuberculosis.
Oh, that's terrible.
But that is the story of baseball best friends forever, Germany Schaefer and Charlie O'Leary.
Very nice, man. That was fun.
I do want to give a shout out here. Couple of Sabre articles just killed it here. 2 of them were articles. One was a bio. I want to just credit Jeff Bartow, Dan Holmes, and Gary Belleville on Sabre. I also wanted to say VintageDetroit.com, Richard Bach also had a great story that really helped out here. Those will be all in the show notes if you want to go and read further on these guys and their antics. There you go. All right, Mark, you ready to head into the final segment of the show?
I'm more than ready.
All right. Well, this is spring training. And sometimes in spring training, they play shorter games, or if it's tied late, they don't want to play extra innings. It just ends in a tie. Because that story was long, we're going to play a shorter Wax Packs Heroes today.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So let's look at the scoreboard. Right now, it is 15-14. I have the slimmest of leads. We're playing to 20. First one to 20 is the champion. I am the reigning champion. And I guess before we go over the rules, we should probably, because we spent a lot of money on this thing, we need to play the theme. It's time for Wax Packs Heroes.
There you go.
Wax Pack Hero! Gotta pull a Wax Pack Hero! Got stars in his eyes. Wax Hero! On the podcast tonight.
All right, if you are not familiar with how we do this, what we are going to do, we're going to take some baseball cards. In this case, from the Wax Pack era. Mark, I've got a pack of 1990 Fleers here we're going to open. We are going to play first one to 3 as opposed to 5 as we usually do. And we're just going to play war with this. We're each going to get a card. We are going to take a look at the Baseball Reference war for each player. And whoever has the highest war out of your card and my card is going to win that round. First one to win 3 is going to win the game today. But a couple of things that can be done to add or subtract to that score. Anything that we judge to be an 80s baseball aesthetic. That means real stirrups with sanitary socks. It means eye black. It means sunglasses, especially flip down sunglasses. Or if you're blind as a bat and you just need them to see, those kind of glasses. Mustaches. All of that is an extra 1/10 of a point each if it's a really good mustache. If it's a Tom Selleck, Wade Boggs type thing, you get even an extra bonus point. It'll be 2/10 of a point. If we see something like 2-in-1, something that we don't like, that's a minus 1/10 of a point. If the player won any awards that year of the card, so this would be 1990, if they won Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP, Gold Glove, or were an All-Star, 1/2 point for each of those things. If there's a Hall of Famer on the card, whether they're the focus of the card or not, that's a whole extra point. And if Ricky Henderson shows up, doesn't matter who pulls him. If he shows up, I win the round. If Nolan Ryan shows up, again, doesn't matter who pulls him, Mark wins the round. Any pop culture references we can easily find, 1/2 point each. If they appeared on Seinfeld, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, or The Simpsons, though, you get a whole point for each of those. And if they were suspended for things like the Pittsburgh drug trials or the Mitchell report, that is a minus 1/2 point. All right. Mark, as I said, these are Fleer 1990. These are actually from, I was doing show and tell on our stream the other day, and I was showing off my Tim Raines autographed Pop Fly comic book cover. And I forgot that Daniel sends cards out, a pack of cards out, Wax Pack cards.
That's right,
those.
yes.
And so it was still in there. So I'm like, I'm going to use that this week. All right, I've got a pack here on my left and a pack on my right. Which one would you like?
Right's been doing well for me.
Right.
Doing right.
All right. So you are going to start off. I think you're gonna do very well with this because he was a very good defensive infielder, very lanky. I think he was very awkward looking, but a great shortstop. Here with the Blue Jays, Tony Fernandez.
Oh yes, I remember him mostly as a Blue Jay. But who else did he play for? San Diego.
San Diego. I think the Mets as well. Well, it's 17 years in the big leagues. He played for quite a few. Toronto for 12 years. San Diego for 2, and then 1 apiece for Cleveland, the Yankees, Cincinnati, the Mets, and Milwaukee.
He stuck around.
Yeah, he played till he was 39.
Wow.
Assuming that his age is correct. We don't know. In 1990, his final year in Toronto, led the league with 17 triples. Isn't that what Ryan Sandberg had that one year? Let's see, a 276 average, 352 on base, 66 RBI, 4 home runs, 26 stolen bases. He was caught 13 times, so that's not great. A 103 OPS plus. No awards, no Gold Glove. He'd won 4 previous in the 4 prior years, but nothing there. But that is a 4.5 WAR. Ooh. This is taken during BP. There is nothing. I can't tell if he had didn't he usually have kind of a wispy mustache?
He always did.
Yeah, give you credit.
You can't see it.
Well, but I feel like I know it's there, and I also feel like I don't think it's going to matter, knowing who my card is.
I got you.
Let's see. 1 World Series in 1993 with Toronto. I seem to remember some stuff about that World Series. And let's see. Involved in some a big trade for sure in 1990. Traded by the Jays with Fred McGriff to San Diego for Roberto Alomar and Joe Carter.
Yes.
That being a pretty... Let's see. San Pedro de Macorís, so we know how he didn't get off the island.
That's right.
His Wikipedia page says, a very thin man, a noted fitness fanatic.
Oh, wow.
His exceptional defensive skill at shortstop was at one point called, quote, the range of a Texas cattleman.
The range. I get it.
Yeah. Let's see. Ontario Sports Hall of Fame. Oh, wow. I guess I do remember this vaguely. He passed away in 2020.
Yeah, he had some kind of kidney.
Yeah, he had a kidney disease, and then he died of complications from a stroke, pneumonia, and an induced coma.
Yikes.
He's got a good score there for you at a 4.6. You are going up against, this is one of my guys, but he's not going to really help me out here. It's with the A's, Felix Jose.
Hey.
Let's see. Felix, 11 years in the big leagues, also played overseas, played for St. Louis, Kansas City, and Oakland for 3 years apiece, Arizona for 2, and the Yankees for 1. In 1990, that was when he was traded from Oakland to St. Louis. Overall, though, let's see, hit 265, 311 on base, 11 home runs, 52 RBI, 12 stolen bases for a 97 OPS plus and a 2.0 WAR. He definitely has a mustache.
Yeah, Felix always did.
Again, I don't think it's going to really matter there. He was traded to the Cardinals for Willie McGee for that half a season.
Ah, okay.
And then he was later traded for Greg Jeffries. Let's see. Maybe we need to start playing Is He Still Alive for bonus points. That's sad. But 4 seasons in the KBO where he hit 309 with 95 homers.
Very nice.
So had some success there. Dominican Republic Hall of Fame. And in 2017, Jose was selected as the star coach of America's Next Top Baseball Players, a reality TV show focused on finding undiscovered raw talent in the Dominican Republic.
Huh.
I'd watch the heck out of that.
Yeah. Well, how come I've not heard of that?
Well, I'm guessing it only aired in the Dominican Republic.
Well, it could be that. Could be.
All right. So you're up 1-0. Your next card is outfielder for the Phillies, Curt Ford. Not Flood, Ford.
Not Flood. That's right. I was thinking the same thing.
Oh, did somebody say Ford?
Because they got the trucks that are on the ball. From work to play, they've got it all. They've got a base that's a real steal. And here's another very good deal. Or choose the truck named after me.
Let's see. Curt Ford, 6 years in the big leagues. 4 with St. Louis, 2 with Philadelphia. 1990 was his final year in the big leagues. Hit 111, 158 on base. I like the way this is going for you. He only appeared in 22 games. No home runs, no RBI, no stolen bases. A minus 24 OPS plus.
Wow.
He was 124% worse than league average this year. But still, it's only a minus 0.3 for you.
Good thing he didn't play more.
Yeah, right? Nothing on this card is going to help you out. Oh, he was traded with Steve Lake to the Phillies for Uncle Milt Thompson. So that's a minus 0.3 for you. So I just need... I got John Cerruti of the Blue Jays. I hope he didn't play in 1990 because he's got real stirrups on. So right there. John Cerruti... Fresh and fruity. What's that called at IHOP? Rudy Tooty, fresh and fruity. John Cerruti. Oh boy, if IHOP didn't give this guy a deal, I don't know what's going on. Let's see. John Cerruti, 7 years in the big leagues, 6 with Toronto, and then a final in 1991 with Detroit. 1990, he went 9-9 with a 4.76 ERA in 30 games. Most of it as a starter. Came out of the bullpen a couple of times. 140 innings pitched, 162 hits, and 49 strikeouts for an 87 ERA plus and a WAR of 0.6. Plus, he's got the stirrups to take me to a 0.7. First round draft pick by the Blue Jays in 1981. Grew up a Yankee fan, idolized Gator, Ron Guidry.
Nice. That's a good guy to idolize.
Yeah, not bad. This is great. Cerruti was a left-handed center fielder as a kid and so talented that his nickname was Fred Lynn. Did some broadcasting for the Blue Jays. And if we played the Is He Alive or Not game, he is not.
Passed away at 44. Ventricular arrhythmia.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. He was doing TV and didn't show up for a pregame meeting. And they went and broke into his hotel room and unfortunately had passed away. That is too bad. We're getting old that these players are no longer around. I think
so.
All right, 1-1. We're playing first to 3 today. You have got one of my guys that I love here with the Pirates, who is who I think of him as. It is Jose Lind, otherwise known as Chico. There's a great shot of Jose Lind with Joe Garagiola. It's a pregame show for one of the games of the week. And Joe Garagiola is not a tall man. Jose Lind is only 5'11", but he was very athletic. And he came and he jumped over Joe Garagiola's head as he was standing there. He knew it was going to happen, but it's a famous picture. You can find it on the internet pretty easily. But overall, 9 years in the big leagues, 6 with the Pirates, 3 with the Royals, and 1 for the California Angels in 1995. 1990 as a 26-year-old with the Bucks. He hit 261, 305 on base, 1 home run, 48 RBI, 8 stolen bases, no caught stealing for an 81 OPS plus and a 0.8 WAR. Looking at this card, he has got eye black. He has got a mustache. So that will be 0.2 of a point bonus for you.
Yeah, there you go. We might want to put him on the do not talk about, though.
Oh, okay. Joel Johnston, he was traded for at one point. Do you know Joel Johnston?
He's a distant relative, I imagine.
Jose Lind. This is funny because I was looking up Lind just the other day because I noticed here that he was the cousin of Onyx Concepcion.
Oh, okay.
But if you say he is on the DNTABL, I will take your word for it, and we will not talk about him. And you have got a 1 even, and you are going up against, for me, first baseman for the Twins, Gene Larkin.
The lesser of the Larkins.
So he's a lot paler, too.
Yes, that he is.
Let's see. Gene Larkin from Flushing, New York. Huh. 7 years in the big leagues, all of it with Minnesota. Two World Series for him in that 7-year career. 1990 with the Twins. Let's see. A 269 average, 343 on base, 5 home runs, 42 RBI, a 101 OPS plus, but a minus 1.0 WAR.
Wow.
You got to do quite a bit there if you're above league average technically with OPS and you are still at a minus 0.1.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Nothing else on this card is going to help me out. And there's nothing else here that is going to help me out on the personal side either. Oh, here, how about this? The first alumnus of Columbia University to make the majors since Lou Gehrig.
Oh, wow.
So there you go. All right.
And happily still alive.
Still alive, as far as we know. All right, you're up 2-1. You're 1 away from victory here.
Got a shot here.
You have got, with Atlanta, catcher, you had to be 806 at this point, Jody Davis.
Jody Davis. Wow.
I think of him as a Cub, mostly.
Me too.
Let's see, 10 years in the big leagues, the Cubs for 8, and then Atlanta for parts of 3. 1990, his final year. He's 33 years old. Only appeared in 12 games. A 71 batting average. 0.71. A 161 on base. No home runs. 1 RBI. And a minus 35. This is worse. That's worse than Kurt Ford. Minus 35 OPS plus for a minus 0.4 WAR. Nothing on this card is going to help you out. He looks angry. Like he knows this is it. And he's going to...
He knows his WAR is minus 0.4.
Yeah. Let's see here. Well, he was traded for Kevin Blankenship, who is not related to Lance Blankenship. So nothing that exciting there for me.
A lot of it, even the personal life section is bland.
Well, how about this? Jody holds the all-time MLB record for number of base stealers caught. I'm assuming, is this in one season with 89?
89?
That's a lot, but it doesn't seem like a lot for a career, though.
Set in 1986, so if that was one season, that's a ridiculous amount.
That is, but right, it's too low to be a career. Yeah, he threw out 445 for his career. Wow. That 89 in a single season. He threw out 47.6% of runners. He gave up 98 steals, but he threw out 89. I'm wondering if that pitching staff just couldn't hold anybody on for the life of them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He did give up a league-leading 121 steals in 84, and the year before, it didn't lead the league, but he gave up 128. So
wow, that's interesting. People were running against him, whether he was throwing them out or not.
I'm wondering, was he wild? Did he have a good arm, but just wasn't accurate? So if he got it to whoever was covering close, they had a shot, but otherwise, no, I don't know. But that's a 0.4 for you. I have got pitcher for the Pirates. Oh, wow, we just brought him up on our stream earlier this week. For the Pirates, Neil Heaton, lefty. Let's see, 12 years in the big leagues, 5 with Cleveland, 3 with the Bucks, 2 with Montreal, and then Kansas City, Minnesota, Yankees, and the Brewers for 1 apiece. Oh, good news for me, 1990 All-Star year, his only All-Star year. With Pittsburgh, he went 12-9, 3.45 ERA, 146 innings pitched, 143 hits, 68 strikeouts for a 105 ERA plus, and a 0.8 WAR. He's got real stirrups and a mustache as well. So as long as he wasn't roiding up, I'm feeling pretty confident here.
He's from Jamaica. Jamaica, New York.
Oh, I was going to say, is he going to replace Chili Davis or Devon White?
No, Jamaica, New York.
Look at first overall pick by the Mets in 79 and didn't sign.
Wow.
Then he was taken a couple of years later by Cleveland in the second round. Traded for Jeff Reardon at one point. And Kurt Gibson late in Kurt's career. Looks like he's alive, though. Good.
That's good.
But nothing else is going to hurt or help me there. So I will take that. It is 2-2, and we are going to the final round. Are you ready? Well, this is good.
I'm ready to rumble.
Because this is going to be a war of attrition here. We got 2 pitchers. You have got, for the Seattle Mariners, Jerry Reed.
Okay.
He's got a mustache, and he's got real stirrups on, so you got that going for you. Let's see, Jerry Reed, and he's alive, so that's good. 9 years in the big league, Seattle for 5 years. Do you remember him at all?
I do, actually. I do remember him, I believe, out of the bullpen.
Yeah, he had a couple of spot starts, but those were some lean years in the mid-'80s.
Yes.
Cleveland for 3, Philly for 2, and then Boston for 1. 1990 was his final year. He split it between Seattle and Boston. Overall, he went 2-2 with a 4.82 ERA, 52 innings pitched, 63 hits, 19 strikeouts, and 85 ERA plus for a WAR of minus 0.1. Now, I told you, though, he's got a mustache and he has got real stirrups. So that will bump you up to a positive 0.1.
Well, maybe if your guy didn't play, I can win.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a mustache or anything on my card that's going to help him out. Played in the Senior Professional Baseball Association for the St. Petersburg Pelicans.
Nice.
But that's it for him. So that'll be a positive 0.1 for you. And you are going up for me, pitcher for the Cardinals, Ken Daly. Don't know how this is going to go.
Boy, I don't either. I'll tell you what.
Well, I do now because I pulled it up. But He is alive.
Another lefty.
Yeah, another lefty. Ken Daly played for 11 years. St. Louis for 7, Atlanta for 3, and Toronto for 2. In 1990, with the Cardinals, he went 4-4 with a 3.56 ERA out of the bullpen. 73 innings pitched, only 63 hits allowed, 51 strikeouts. I like this. A 107 ERA plus for a WAR of positive 0.3. As long as he's not juicing.
No juicing, no Pittsburgh drug trials.
Yeah, let's see. First round draft pick by Atlanta, 3rd overall in 1980, and then was traded by Atlanta with Mike Jorgensen to the Cardinals for Ken Oberkfell. See here, anything that's going to hurt me. I like when there's no personal section because that generally means I'm safe.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't see anything else here. Let's see. Oh, he gave up the first Grand Slam I ever witnessed.
Oh, no kidding.
That was in the 87 World Series. He gave up a Grand Slam to Kent Herbeck. I remember that being the first Grand Slam, at least that I was cognizant of seeing happen in real time. Season was cut short in 91 because of a bout with vertigo, which he never really recovered from. But the good news for me is I win that round and I win this shortened game.
So close.
That'll bump me up to 16. I can almost smell it, but you're right there at 14. So very close. But that'll do it. And you know what? I really like these shorter versions of this game. I think once we finish up this season, I think we might be going to the first to 3 instead of first to 5. Just to make it a little bit quicker. But that'll do it for Wax Packs Heroes. That's also going to do it for this episode. Thank you once again for joining us. If you want more of us, you can find all of our links in the show notes. Don't forget that I am streaming Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 o'clock Pacific on Twitch and now YouTube as well. If you want to join us there to do some baseball dailies like the grid and daily walk-off and starting 9. I'm going to be playing a little out of the park baseball as well, doing some season replays there. And I am working on a new video, and I've been putting some shorts out as well. So just check out our YouTube page. If you follow, if you subscribe, that really helps us out. And I really appreciate that, as well as sharing any of our content. I cannot tell you how much that really does help us. And we're almost monetized on YouTube. So any help is appreciated because we make no money from this. Zero money. We give money to people for this. But
we pay to come and talk to you about baseball.
We literally do. But something we don't pay for is our email address, Mark.
No, that one's a freeb. And it's you can write to us at 2Strike Noise. That's TWO Strike Noise @gmail.com.
All right. That's going to do it for this episode. We will see you again next week on the next episode of 2Strike Noise.
Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.